AITA for calling the police because the family I tutor for keep leaving me with the kid. I am an after-school tutor. Homework help and co-curricular support mostly, test prep sometimes. I am pretty adamant and clear that you cannot leave the house while I'm working with your child because I am not childcare and I cannot be made responsible if something like a medical episode happens. I also don't want there to be the appearance of impropriety. I don't need them in the room or anything, just in the house. Even still, parents occasionally try and use me as an excuse to run a child-free errand or run to the office or whatever else they do. Usually after the first warning it stops, and there's also a financial penalty. Recently I had a family where the mom evidently left during our session. This was the first time that it had happened. Eventually I needed to leave for my next appointment. I texted and called her, but no response. I was not comfortable leaving the child, 8, alone without an adult present. After 15 minutes of waiting and becoming late for the next child, I got nervous and called the police non-emergency line to ask what I should do next. They said they'd send someone over. The police arrived and said they'd wait with her. Of course, I have many angry calls and a negative review from this mother now, saying I've created a huge problem for her and the police think she's some kind of bad mother now, and the social services agent asked her all kinds of questions and how dare, etc. She claims she didn't realize the session was only 30 minutes and thought it would be okay to quickly leave around the corner because I would still be there when she returned. I was comfortable with the decision at first, but she seemed genuinely shaken up by her interactions with the social agent or officer she spoke to, unclear which from her message. And a friend of mine says this was an uncalled for escalation that could have actually placed the child in more jeopardy than my leaving after the appointment, or that I should have waited for the mom to return and spoken with her first as a warning. AITA? A friend of mine says this was an uncalled for escalation that could have actually placed the child in more jeopardy than my leaving after the appointment. Agreed. The parent should not have escalated things by leaving you alone with a kid and being uncontactable to the point that you had to call the cops. What were you supposed to do? Just leave the 8-year-old on their own? For all you knew, the mom had just gotten in a horrific accident and was unconscious or something. Someone needed to be contacted, and if she didn't leave you an emergency contact other than herself, you had no choice. NTA. That was actually what kind of crossed my mind when I called, because I thought, is there an address book or can I ask the child to where maybe I can find a relative or someone else who can come over to watch her? But I couldn't help but think, wouldn't she want to be accessible while away from her daughter? Maybe something has happened? Definitely was concerned about this aspect. NTA. Fellow tutor here, they are paying you to assist their child in a certain subject/subjects, and nothing more. Tutors are not babysitters, and should not be assumed to be. You did the responsible thing here, and it isn't your fault the mom thought she could get away with something you clearly explained you wouldn't tolerate. NTA. 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 You did exactly what you should have. You tried to reach her, you couldn't, so you called the non-emergency police line. You handled it perfectly, the kid was safe, and hopefully mom learned a valuable lesson in not abandoning her 8-year-old child with a, somewhat, stranger. She's only mad because now police know she plays fast and loose with her kid's safety. And social services gets involved only if they find in initial investigation that there is a pattern of behavior. If this was a one-time thing, and no evidence to the contrary, social services would have walked away. My guess, this is a habit, and she is in hot water. Police think she's some kind of bad mother. Gee, I wonder what kind of mother leaves their child with someone who has been adamant about not being left alone in a childcare position. TA. AITA for telling my cousin to leave after she saw my plastic straw stockpile and accused me of destroying the environment. I, 20F, have neuromuscular disabilities. I cannot drink things without a straw/lid. I need a lid so I don't spill, a straw because I cannot lift drinks to my mouth and have difficulty getting liquid to the back of my mouth to swallow. Straws alleviate this problem. Plastic straws are necessary because biodegradable/paper ones break apart easily. Silicone is not flexible enough, Metal straws get hot/cold too easily and are inflexible, which hurts my mouth and makes it impossible to swallow. My city is currently laying out plans to ban plastic straws, and it has already been implemented in some areas. I am currently stockpiling. My cousin came around to drop something off a few days ago, and found my stockpile when she opened a cupboard. She immediately goes on about how plastic straws are convenient, but you're destroying the environment, just get reusable straws etc. She's super passionate about the environment. If you can't tell her to leave. And she drove off really upset. My mum comes home later, and I tell her what happened. Mum is upset that I told her to leave, because my aunt apparently got angry at my mum for me being rude, and that I probably should have explained to her why I need straws instead. That the majority of people who support straw bans don't realize that single-use straws are usually the only way that people with certain disabilities can get hydration safely. I needed to educate her, according to mum. NTA. Being disabled is generally not environmentally friendly, and healthy people who have a choice about what products they prefer to use really need to realize that it's not a choice for everyone. Although straw bans are well intended, any law or ordinance that doesn't take people with disabilities into account is incredibly flawed. Info: does your cousin know why you need the straws? Looking at this statement, that I probably should have explained to her why I need straws instead. That the majority of people who support straw bans don't realize that single-use straws are usually the only way that people with certain disabilities can get hydration safely. I don't think the cousin knows. I don't know, friend. If she was there to drop off something for your benefit and you asked her to leave because she didn't intuitively understand that alternative straws wouldn't work for you, that seems kind of harsh. I mean, you yourself sound like you had to try out the other straws to see that they didn't work. I don't know if you were an asshole, but I do know that if I was delivering things for someone and they asked me to leave the way you did, I probably wouldn't want to deliver things for them anymore. NTA. The ableism in the green movement is maddening, and their initiatives are often performative. The straw situation, for example, performative. They make up a tiny percentage of plastic pollution and are an important accessibility measure. If the movement wants to impact plastic in the ocean, they should be a thorn in the side of corporate fishing, contribute upwards of 70% of plastic in the ocean, not disabled people. Edit: because I'm being misinterpreted. I never said the cousin is ableist, I said the movement is. Edit 2, the 70% refers specifically to plastics on the ocean floor, particularly ridges. It is also accurate with regards to macroplastics. My apologies for stating it as a generalization. I had no idea this post would blow up. AITA for not wanting my 16F parents 51M and 43F to have shared custody of me. My parents are going through a divorce. It was a long time coming, and having to spend a lot more time together because they both had to work at home was the last straw. I know I probably sound a bit uncaring/icy about all of this, but at this point I think everyone is better off if they separate. The last 4 years have been marred with constant arguments, cheating and whatnot, but my mom in particular has been using me as an emotional support animal, and I am sick of it. By some miracle granted by the very gods, they have been amicable, at least when it comes to splitting their finances, stuff they own, all of that. My mom moved to her new boyfriend and my dad is keeping the house. Now that they got it all figured out, they only had one thing left to decide, and that is what to do with me. Unfortunately, they assumed I would want to spend 1 week at dad's place, the other at mom's place, and it's just a no for me. When they said what they had decided to do, I said no and explained I wanted to stay with dad. I gave the reason that I go to school here, my job is here, and I don't want it interrupted. In reality though, it has a lot more to do with me not liking my mom's boyfriend, one of the guys she cheated before you ask. Dad cheated plenty of times too. With who has 2 kids, no interest in living with 2 random kids 50% of the time, of his own who live with him full time, and I am just a lot closer to my dad in general. We are a lot more alike, and he isn't emotionally draining like mom is. When I said this, mom broke down and begged me to stay with her full time instead. I said no. She threatened to go to court over this, but my dad pointed out that was a waste of time because I am old enough to where my decision will pretty much be final. That was last week. My mom's side of the family has gotten involved since telling me I need to keep my mom's feelings into account and support her, and my grandma has gone as far as to demand I go live with my mom instead. I am aware I am not the most empathetic person, far from it, so I have a tendency to only look at things from my own side, but my mom is clearly broken up about this. She calls me several times a day crying. I want to know if I am the asshole here. Please be blunt. You asked for blunt, so here goes nothing. NTA. If your mother is treating you as an emotional support human, which I completely believe, then she's acting inappropriately, bordering on emotionally abusive. Guess what though? Even if your mom was a perfect picture of healthy parenting and you wanted to live with your dad, you're still NTA. You're a person. Your opinions and preferences matter. You're nearing adulthood. Your decisions, within reason, should be yours. Good luck. Animal, emotional support human doesn't have that ring to it. For me it would always have been one or the other. I have no interest in moving every week. Just seems like a huge hassle. My mom just made the choice to stay with my dad. Very easy. NTA. Even without the added information about your mom's boyfriend and his family, the reasons you've offered here would be sufficient for a judge to award majority custody to your father. If you were to include the living situation at your mom's, that would clinch the deal. Your ability to state your reasons is exactly why 16-year-olds typically have greater input in custody decisions. And the emotional pressure from your mom's side is why courts try to protect minors from bearing that burden. Be kind yet firm with your mom. Tell her you'll see her often and hope that she'll always want the best for you. Yeah, it's not like her boyfriend is a particularly shitty person either. He is just really overbearing and I am very independent. We don't go well together. But his kids are what makes it a complete, solid, no thank you for me. NTA. My mom's side of the family has gotten involved since telling me I need to keep my mom's feelings into account and support her. And your feelings don't count? I wonder why? It turns out they do count. There isn't much they can do about it apart from the emotional blackmail. Luckily, it doesn't sound like it's working. You do what's right for you. Like I said, I am not a very emotional person, so their pressure, I guess you could call it, isn't working very well. I just had the idea that maybe I am wrong here and being an ass, which wouldn't be the first time, so why not ask people here? NTA. It's a sad state where you're the most adult in the whole situation. I think they are just emotional mostly.